Hi, I'm Greg Tourdot, President of Eagle Training Services Incorporated. Eagle Training Services is dedicated to the success of every one of our student drivers. Our experienced instructors, who have spent decades working in the trucking industry, will share their knowledge and safe driving skills with the students because we want to make a difference. Our goal is not only to help our students pass the CDL exam, but to help them develop the skills and knowledge that will begin them on a safe and productive driving career. Today, our lead instructor at the Lake in the Hills School, Steve Cooper, will take you through the pre-trip inspection. The pre-trip inspection is not only part of the CDL exam, but it's an integral part of truck safety. It is vitally important that any driver, before operating a commercial motor vehicle, is able to determine if that vehicle is safe to drive. If the driver determines during their pre-trip inspection that the vehicle they are about to drive has a mechanical defect that will impair the safe operation of that vehicle, it is their responsibility to make sure the required repairs are made before driving the vehicle. It is not only about the time and the money they could be saving if they prevent an expensive roadside repair, but their life and the lives of others may depend on it. I want to thank you for choosing Eagle Training Services, and I wish you the best for a safe and productive career in the trucking industry. And now I'll turn it over to Steve Cooper.
Hi, my name is Steve Cooper. I'm lead instructor for Eagle Training Services. Our pre-trip is extremely detailed and thorough. I will walk you through and show you what you will need to know to pass. We will also have Lupe Villasona, one of our students, do our pre-trip in Spanish. Okay, now we're going to do the walk-up. The first thing you do is approach the truck about 20 feet away. The first thing you do is you look for fluids on the ground. Anything hanging down must be free of debris. Then you look at your bumper to make sure it's level. If it's not level, it could indicate you have a suspension problem, could be a low tire or a possible shifted load. Then you come up and look at the bumper itself, must be attached, all bolts present and tight. Your license plate must be attached, valid and up to date and clean. Your grill can't be cracked, bent, or broken. All bolts present and tight, free of debris. Your headlights can't be cracked, broken, or missing. They must be operational. Turn signals can't be cracked, broken, missing. Must be amber in color and operational. If it has mirrors on your hood, brackets can't be cracked or broken. Mirrors themselves must be clean, can't be cracked or broken. Then you've got your windshield. You've got 3 stickers: state, federal, and insurance. The federal can be on the driver's side if it's not on the windshield. Then you have your mirrors on the side. Brackets can't be cracked or broken. Mirrors themselves must be cleaned and not broken. Then you have 2 marker lights on top, 3 ID lights in the center. They must be amber in color and operational. Your stickers must be all valid and up to date. If it has a horn on top, it must be secured, operational, and free of debris. Muffler, it's attached to the frame and or cab. Cannot be leaking. If it is leaking, you'll see black soot. First thing you want to do under the hood is the alternator. Make sure it's mounted securely. You want to check for proper belt tension. Make sure the belt has no cracks or frays. Make sure that the water pump is mounted securely, not leaking. Check belt for proper tension and there is no cracks or frays in it. Air compressor, make sure it's mounted securely. Check belt for proper tension, no cracks or frays. If gear driven, like this one is, mention it to the examiner. The coolant, make sure the coolant is up to level. Oil, this is the dipstick where you check the oil. This is where you add oil. Make sure it's up to proper level. Power steering reservoir, make sure it's up to proper level, not leaking. And you just check all the hoses and for leaks and rub marks and nothing leaking. Okay, we're going to go over the steering, key parts. We start with the steering shaft. It can't be cracked, bent, or broken. Then it's attached to the U-joint. U-joint is attached to the steering gearbox. The U-joint, all bolts present appear to be tight and must be well greased. The steering gearbox is attached to the frame, all bolts present and tight. Steering gearbox cannot have any welds, man-made welds, or cannot be leaking. Then we have the pitman arm. Then we have the drag link. Then we have the steering ring knuckle. Then we have the tie rod ends. All of them have to be secured with castle nuts and cotter pins. They can't be cracked, bent, or broken, and all must be well greased. Okay, we're going to go over the front suspension on the tractor. First we have the front spring hanger. Can't be cracked, bent, or broken. It has to be secured to the frame, all bolts present and tight. Then we have our spring, leaf spring. Must be straight. No more than 25% leaves can be cracked or broken. No leaves can be missing. It's attached to the axle with saddle and U-bolts. All nuts must be present and appear to be tight. Then we have our shock. It's attached from the axle to the frame. All bolts present appear to be tight. The shock cannot be leaking, must have pliable rubber bushings, and all bolts must be present and appear to be tight. Okay, now we have the rear spring hanger. It's attached to the frame. Can't be cracked, bent, or broken. All bolts present appear to be tight. Then we have the shackles on the rear. The shackles are attached from the spring hanger to the eye of the spring. All bolts present and appear to be tight, and the shackles must be well greased. You've got your front spring hanger, your center saddle, your rear spring hanger must be attached to the frame. Can't be cracked, bent, or broken. No broken welds. Then you have your equalizer that's attached to your center saddle. Can't be cracked, bent, or broken. Then you've got your springs. They must be straight. No more than 25% can be cracked. No leaves can be missing. They're held onto the axle with saddle and U-bolts, all present and appear to be tight. There are 4 torque rods. The front goes from spring hanger to axle. The rear ones go from center saddle to axle. All bolts present appear to be tight, and those are for alignment of trailer tandems. Then you have stabilizer bars that go side to side, from spring hanger to spring hanger, from center saddle to center saddle, from rear spring hanger to rear spring hanger, and that's for toe in and toe out of your tandems. Okay, now we're going to go over the air ride suspension on the tractor. Okay, we're going to start with the upper airbag support. It must be secured to the frame. Then we have the lower airbag support secured to the axle. Then we have the airbag itself. Must be free of debris, not cracked, broken, leaking, or rubbing on anything. Then we have the shock absorber secured to the axle and frame, all bolts present and appear to be tight, not cracked, bent, broken, or leaking. The rubber bushings must be soft and pliable, none missing. Here are the key brake parts. Here we will remove the brake drum so you can see how the key brake parts work and how they operate when the brakes are applied. In this shot you can see the S-cam shaft itself, the rollers, the springs, the slack adjuster, and the push rod, and how it's attached to the slack adjuster with a pin and cotter pin. When the brakes are applied, air goes into the brake chamber and pushes the diaphragm inside against the push rod. The push rod then moves the slack adjuster. The push rod is connected to the slack adjuster with a pin and cotter pin. The slack adjuster compensates for wear of the brake shoes and of the brake drum. The slack adjuster is mounted to the S-cam shaft, and the push rod moves the slack adjuster, which in turn twists the S-cam shaft. Okay, on the end of the S-cam shaft is the S-cam. When the S-cam twists, the S-cam makes contact with the rollers. The rollers are held back with springs. As the shaft turns, it forces the brake shoes away from springs to make contact with the brake drum. The S-cam cannot be excessively worn. The rollers cannot be excessively worn. The brake pads itself, you want at least a 1/4 inch of material on the shoe itself. No pads can be missing. The brake drum must be round, can't be cracked or broken, no man-made welds or excessively worn. You want no more than a 1/4 inch of wear on the brake drum. You can see how the push rod is pushing the slack adjuster, which in turn turns the slack adjuster itself, which pushes against the rollers, which expands the brake shoes to touch the drums. Now we're going to put back on the brake drum. Now it's all back together. Okay, now we're going to talk about the steer tires. You want to start at the top of the tire. First thing, the steer tires must be the same size and type. Tread depth, no less than 4/32 of an inch tread depth in each and every major groove. Steer tires cannot be recapped or regrooved. You want to make sure you check for cupping, cuts, bulges, inside and out, top to bottom, side to side. Steer tires have to be checked cold with a gauge only. The pressure has to be between 100 and 110 psi or manufacturer's specs. Okay, now we're going to go over the valve stem. Must be straight, capped, not leaking. Okay, we're going to go over drive tires. This will be the same for trailer tires. You start at the top. First thing, they must be the same size and type. They must be evenly worn. Drive tires and trailer tires can be recapped and regrooved. Tread depth, they can have no less than 2/32 of an inch tread depth in each and every major groove. Tire pressure, you can check it with the gauge or by thumping, and the tire pressure has to be between 100 and 110 psi or manufacturer specs. Then you check the side of the tire for cuts, bulges, tire separation on the caps, cupping. You check the tire inside out, top to bottom, inside and out. Must have a 3-inch gap between the tires, free of debris. The valve stem must be straight, capped, not leaking. Now we're going to cover what you need to know about the rim. First of all, the rim must be round, can't be cracked, bent, broken, no man-made welds. You look at the lug nuts, all must be tight. If you see white powder on aluminum or red trail, which is a rust trail on steel, would indicate you have a loose lug. They should be tightened. Valve stem must be straight, not leaking, and have a cap on it. Oil hub, all bolts present appear to be tight, not leaking. If it has a sight glass, make sure it's up to proper level. If it doesn't have a sight glass, you must pull this plug out, stick something other than your finger in to make sure it has at least 1 inch of 90 weight oil. Okay, we're going to go over the Airlines. The Airlines are attached to the back of the cab. What you look for on the Airlines is any cuts, tears, rub marks. They cannot be leaking. They also cannot be spliced. They must be free of the catwalk so they're not rubbing on it. They're attached to the front of the trailer by glad hands. Glad hands have to have a soft pliable grommet that seals when you connect them. The red one, emergency side, is the driver's side. Blue is service, is on the passenger side. Okay, now we're going to go over the light cord. The light cord is plugged into the back of the tractor with a 7-pin, 7-hole plug. Must have a locking lid to hold in place so it doesn't come out. On the cord itself, you look for cuts, bare wires, and no splices. It goes into the front of the trailer with another 7-pin, 7-hole plug. The plug has to be free of corrosion. The plug itself has to be free of oil, grease, debris, and corrosion. It must have a locking lid to hold it in place, and it also must be free of the catwalk so it doesn't catch on it. Okay, now we're going to talk about the fuel tank. The fuel tank has to be secured with a minimum of 2 metal straps secured to the frame. Must have rubber backing to prevent wear. You check for dents, holes, and cuts. The fuel tank cannot be leaking in any way. If it has steps on the fuel tank, the steps must be secured to your fuel tank straps. The steps themselves must be well grooved, free of oil, grease, and debris. Your fuel cap must have a pliable seal or a gasket inside to prevent leaking. Okay, now we're going to talk about the catwalk or the platform and the batteries. The catwalk, it has to be secured to the frame, must be well grooved, must be free of oil, grease, and debris. Now we're going to go into the batteries. Okay, now with the batteries, you want to make sure all the connections are tight. All the nuts are present, there's no corrosion. If it has caps to add water, pull the caps to make sure the water level is up. If it's a maintenance free and it has an eye on it, make sure the eye is green so that it tells you it's charged. You want to make sure if it has the hold downs, they're tight and in place to hold the batteries down so they don't move around. You want to make sure there's no bare wires or wires touching any part of the frame. The battery box itself must be secured to the frame, all bolts present and tight. Make sure you check to make sure the batteries are clean and there's no bulges. Bulges would indicate it's overcharged and you have a problem with one of the batteries. Okay, now we're going to go over the fifth wheel. The fifth wheel must be attached to the frame, all bolts present and tight. If it's equipped with a sliding fifth wheel, the pins must be in the locked position. The handle must be in the locked position. If it has a safety device, it must be in the locked position. The supports can be cracked or broken. The pivot pins must be present and secured. The fifth wheel itself must be well greased and no broken welds. This is the king pin plate. This is the king pin. This is the king pin shank. Okay, now when you hook up a tractor trailer, the first thing you do is you back the tractor up just before the fifth wheel touches the trailer. You always want to make sure that the trailer is slightly lower than the fifth wheel itself. Hooking up is never one move, it's always two moves. You always have to make sure that the trailer isn't too high, then you could jump the fifth wheel. The kingpin could jump the fifth wheel, or if it's too low, you could damage the front of the trailer. Okay, we're going to go over the side of the trailer. Start with the lights. All the lights must be operational, amber in color, none can be missing, except for the back of the trailer, 1 foot in, that light is red. You look on the side of the trailer for cuts, holes, gouges, and scrapes, and bulges. If you see a bulge, could indicate a shifted load. Then you look at your side rail, make sure your side rails are straight, make sure that your cross members are all present, all rivets are present, no more than 25% can be missing. That's 1 out of 4 or 2 out of 8. Your placards must be secured to the side of the trailer and displayed properly according to the load that you're carrying. Now we're going to go over the landing gear. On the landing gear, you got to make sure all your brackets and braces can be cracked, bent, or broken. All bolts present appear to be tight. On your dotted legs, you want to make sure both are in the raised position. The dotted leg itself must be bolted to the trailer. All bolts present appear to be tight. The sand shoe must be in position with a locking pin, free of debris. Dotted leg must be well greased. The crank handle must be in the stored position.